fellas, I'm going to go the opposite way of Chip Patterson, who we just had on. He seemed bullish on Brohm and Louisville. There's a lot of expectations, Amal Shah. The win total set at 8. Yeah. I'm going to tell you something. I was shocked to see 8. I went through it. I got 6 wins. It's not a tough schedule, very conducive for a first-year head coach. I got you there. They won 8 games with Satterfield last year. You don't like the coach. I get it. Brohm is awesome. He's going to do a great job. But let's just start here. It's an uphill battle. New scheme, new system, new coordinators, and just the logistics of implementing all that with total turnover on the roster. I mean, they went at the portal hard. He brought over his quarterback from Purdue, a lot of players from Purdue as well. Again, there's some continuity there, but I don't have this team getting to 9. If you want to go over to 8, a push on 8 to me would be a gift, and I've got them going under this year.
I tend to agree with you. Even though the schedule on paper doesn't look as difficult when you see some of the team names, I don't think they're guaranteed wins at all. You're absolutely right. You look at this team, you mentioned Jack Plummer. He played at Cal, played at Purdue, so he's obviously familiar with Brohm's system. That should help him out immensely. He's brought a bunch of coaches over that were with him at Purdue. Brian Brohm's going to be the offensive coordinator here. That's his brother. Mark Hagan and Ron English, are currently defensive coordinators who were previously with him at Purdue. Patrick, you probably know the name Ron English. He was the head coach at Eastern Michigan for 5 years, about a decade ago. This team, look, they've got 26 new guys coming in through the portal. That's a big number. You're talking about a third of a roster turnover, a little bit less than that. But I just don't see it with this team. When you look at the schedule very quickly, guys, they'll get out to a fast start. Georgia Tech, they play a Friday night game in the Mercedes-Benz Dome there. Murray State. Look, the Racers are an in-state program. It may not be as simple as it sounds on paper, but Louisville should win that one, IU. But then this is where it starts to get a little tricky to me. Boston College, this is a big year for Jeff Hafley up at Chestnut Hill, so they've got to have a bounce back. NC State, they do have Brennan Armstrong, the Virginia transfer at quarterback. I don't know if they're going to be able to win down in Raleigh. Then you've got Notre Dame. They're not beating them, in my opinion. At Pittsburgh, Narduzzi's teams are good defensively. Patrick, right there for me, that's back-to-back-to-back losses, and we don't even get to the back end yet with Miami and Kentucky. I just don't see the 8 wins, and getting to 9 to cover the bet. Holy cow, you got to be the most optimistic person.
I totally agree. I got non-com. I got Indiana, Kentucky, Notre Dame. I'm sorry, those aren't 3. Indiana and Kentucky, that's not a walkover. I understand they get Kentucky late at home to finish up the season, but you mentioned Notre Dame. They don't play Clemson, big guy. They don't have Florida State, North Carolina, Wake, so there are some let-ups in the schedule. The defense, Louisville was first in the nation in sacks last year. They lost their top 3 linebackers. The secondary is loaded, but it's all from the transfer portal, so there's going to take a little bit of time to get used to that. I think the offensive line is a big boost because it's a bunch of vets that should be solid. First-year head coach is going to love that. But we start with the quarterback. The 3 of us don't love the quarterback. He's been at 3 different universities. Jack Plummer, he's just basic.
Yeah, I feel bad for how effusive all 3 of us are in Jack Plummer and how I just don't think he's special. He's a guy. He's a jag. He's just a guy. He won't win you games. He won't lose you games. He might have a moment or two where you're like, oh, he's a little bit better than I thought when he's aggressive, like once every 1,000 throws. He's just not a special player. And the thing is, there's a lot of transfers coming in, and if there was something special at quarterback, maybe I could be convinced, some new talent, some new blood reigniting this team and this program. But with Jack Plummer as the guy you're leaning on, you got to hope that the UNLV transfer Harrison Bailey or Purdue quarterback Brady Allen, one of them somehow do something special in camp to steal the job, because Jack Plummer ain't it.
What's interesting is this is a guy that played for Purdue for 3 years, transfers to California last year, and now is reunited with Brohm at Louisville. I mean, he wasn't going to be the guy last year. All of a sudden, now it's going to be a different situation. Allen, to me, is right now, based on what they have on the roster, the long-term answer, Patrick. But again, I still think this team, as you mentioned it, losing a ton defensively, a lot of question marks surrounding them. And you mentioned they got great pressure on the quarterback, but the back end of that defense was not particularly good. I just don't see a ton of improvement here from this team. Guys, this is a hard under 8 here for me.
Yeah, 8. I was shocked when I saw the number. And I actually think for Brohm, when you think of Jeff Brohm, you think of offense.
Yep.
I actually think this is going to be one of the lower scoring teams because they do have Jawar Jordan back. He's a good running back. They've got good depth at the running back position. They've got a really good offensive line. We talked about we're not high on Jack Plummer. And it's a good defense. It should be a good defense. You mentioned the problems with the back end last year. They went hard on the portal. So, again, you would assume defensively they may pick up. The linebacker misses 3 of them, whether they transferred or they're gone. That's not good for Louisville. It's just, look, taking over a new program with a lot of pressure.
You're absolutely.
We've talked about it. Like, they're not just the Brohm family's not just a big deal in Louisville. They could run for mayor. They could do whatever they want. They're the biggest deal in Louisville from their dad and the brothers.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. A lot of legacy coming in, stepping in. I think there'll be a lot of excitement around the program, but can they sustain it? Can they rise to that challenge? You mentioned Storm Duck coming in from North Carolina. Great name. The problem with Storm Duck was you were always seeing the back of his jersey when he played at Carolina, chasing the receivers down with the ball. They were always getting burned. And it's a similar situation here. We'll see if they can improve on that. One negative I'm going to point out with Brohm, when they got Rondale Moore, which is a big coup getting him to come to Purdue, I thought they would have made better utilization of him with his creativity and other things. I didn't think Rondale Moore had the type of career he could have had he gone somewhere else. And to me, that has kind of always stuck out from Brohm in negative about Brohm from my perspective.
And I think we talked to him one time, big guy. He was great. He was super personable.
It was coming off the Ohio State win.
Yeah, it might have been. Was it 18? All I know is there were expectations. I think it was 19. The expectations were sky high, and they finished 4-8. So again, and I can almost guarantee you that was the year where Purdue had high expectations. You mentioned Moore and some other players. They did a good job recruiting there, but they failed to meet the expectations. And then 9-4-21, a very good year. 8-5 last year. They appeared and got blown out in the Big Ten championship game, and they got blown out in the bowl game. I don't know. 8 is a crazy number. I swear to you, I expected 6.5 or 7 when I looked at Louisville. That's what I expected. I saw 8s, 110 up and down, so it's not going anywhere. So a little surprising to me.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.